When you arrived at the Richins home, what did you first encounter?
I ran into his sister at the bottom of the driveway. I spoke to her briefly. I went in and spoke to the initial officer that was on scene, and I did interview some of the witnesses there.
When you met with his sister in the driveway, do you remember which sister?
Amy.
Did what she told you inform you how you approached what you did once you entered the house?
Yes.
What did she inform you?
Your Honor, can we approach?
Of course.
When Amy met you in the driveway, did she say anything that informed your investigation?
Yes.
What did she say?
She told me that Eric had said to her that he thought Kouri was going to kill him.
Then did you go into the house?
Yes, I did.
Ms. Nestor, were there any questions about anything else that Amy said to her that you'd want to ask?
Yes, Your Honor. Let me pull up her report really quickly. So I want to make sure, because it appears from your report there were 2 conversations with Amy. So I would like to make sure we're talking about the same one. Okay. When you first arrived and you saw Amy in the driveway, you're saying that is when she told you that Eric said that Kouri was going to kill him?
Yes, they said, she said it during both conversations.
Okay. So in your report, when you reported what happened, you said Amy said she thought I should know that Eric and his wife Kouri were having problems and that Kouri had threatened him.
Yes. Threatened to kill him. Yes.
Okay, that's different than what you just said. So that's what you were referring to?
Yes.
All right. Then you walked in the home and then you came back out and had another conversation with Amy and her other sister, right?
Yes.
All right. And can you explain, just because we're going to get into this in a minute, what they told you on that second conversation?
I'm trying to remember. They said they had been fighting a lot and that Kouri was erratic when she was drinking and that Eric had told them that she had threatened to kill him.
Okay. And did Amy tell you that Kouri found out recently she wasn't the beneficiary anymore and that because of that she threatened to kill Eric?
She told me that at some point, but I can't remember when.
Okay. So she told you that Kouri had found out he had basically made her not a beneficiary?
At some point, yeah.
Before he died?
She said that at some point, but I don't remember when she told me that.
Okay. Do you remember when you had that first conversation with Amy, any specifics about when that statement was made to his family, under what circumstances, or any details about the statement?
No.
And that's before you even walked in the house, right?
Yes.
Did you ever do any investigation to verify that?
Yes, afterwards.
I'm sorry, verify what?
I don't know what that is. My apologies.
Sorry, that statement had been made by Eric?
We did an investigation, but that specific statement, I could only ask her what he'd said.
So it was just her word? You didn't corroborate with anybody else?
Not that I can recall.
The document is 4 pages long. It is written in the dry, precise language of forensic science. Compound names, blood concentration levels, threshold values. Most people would struggle to read it. But buried inside the clinical language is a finding so stark that no translation is required. Eric Richins had approximately 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in his system at the time of death. Not a lethal dose, 5 times a lethal dose. Eric Richins was 39 years old. He had no fentanyl prescription, no history of opioid use, no documented contact with the drug in any form. The medical examiner ruled his death a homicide. The toxicology report is Exhibit A in this case. Everything that follows, every policy, every text message, every forged signature, every lie, exists to answer one question. Who put it there? The prosecution's answer was his wife. Her name is Kouri Richins, and the evidence against her did not arrive in one dramatic moment. It arrived the way evidence always does, piece by piece, document by document, exhibit by exhibit, until there was nothing left to argue. Exhibit 01. The prenuptial agreement. The trap she built for herself. Before we get to the fentanyl, we need to understand the financial architecture of this marriage, because the financial architecture is what made murder the only option Kouri Richins was willing to consider. Eric and Kouri Richins married in 2013. Eric was his own man, a builder, a businessman, a person with assets and equity and properties in his name. Kouri was his second wife, and because Eric had been through a divorce before, he came to this marriage with a prenuptial agreement. The terms were straightforward. They would not have rights to each other's property. With one exception, if Eric died while they were lawfully married, Kouri inherited everything. She signed that agreement. She understood what it said. And for years it was just a document, until the day Kouri Richins decided she wanted out of the marriage and realized what leaving would actually cost her. Prosecutors described Kouri as intensely ambitious and almost entirely incompetent at managing money. By 2021 and into 2022, her real estate business was collapsing. She had taken $250,000 in equity out of Eric's home without his knowledge. She had forged his signature on loan documents. She had borrowed money against properties he didn't know she was using as collateral. She was drowning in debt and projecting wealth at the same time. She consulted a divorce attorney in May 2021. She met with the attorney once. She didn't go back. Because a divorce attorney couldn't solve the problem the prenup created. If she left Eric, she left his money, and she needed his money. But if Eric died, she collected his life insurance, she inherited his estate, and she walked away solvent. That prenuptial agreement did not protect Eric Richins. It signed his death warrant. On January 29th, 2022, a life insurance application was submitted for Eric Richins. The application bore his signature. Eric Richins did not sign it. Kouri Richins signed her husband's name to a life insurance policy on his life, naming herself the beneficiary, without his knowledge, without his consent, and without any intention of ever telling him it existed. The policy activated on February 4th, 2022. It was one of several policies on Eric's life. Combined, they totaled more than $2.2 million. Here is what the prosecution established through digital forensics and financial records. January 29th, application submitted, Eric's signature forged. February 4th, policy activates. February 11th, 1 week later, Kouri Richins obtains fentanyl for the first time. 7 days between the policy going live and the first drug acquisition. That is not a coincidence. That is a timeline. The insurance fraud charge in this case was not a secondary matter. It was the blueprint. It demonstrated, before a single pill was purchased, that Kouri Richins had already decided what was going to happen to her husband and had already begun building the financial infrastructure to collect on his death.
The so-called Midway Mansion in Midway, Utah. It's a beautiful spring day. You can see it right behind me. This is the property that Kouri Richins purchased the day after, well, she closed on it the day after her husband, Eric Richins, died. She had been looking at it for some time, and based on text messages that we saw at the trial, Eric was not too keen on the idea. He said that we couldn't afford it. He didn't really want her to look at it. She worked her magic, I guess you could say, to come up with the funding and was able to close on the property. Let's zoom in here, Jordan, and we can show people what it looks like. This is a 8.5 acre property. right off of Route 113 in East Midway. There's a 3,000 square foot guest house. They broke ground in 2017, but the property was never finished. And that's when Kouri Richins came in with investors. Her dream, her goal was to completely renovate it, flip it, and then make a profit. She thought she could make millions off of the property, and she had plans to do so. But we learned during the trial that there were some big financial problems with the property, not just financial problems, but environmental problems. They were going to have to commission the environmental agencies, several environmental agencies, to come out here and take care of the property, the grounds, the wetlands, things like that. So Kouri was roughly $3.2 million in debt when this property was purchased. The loan defaulted in September of 2022, triggering all sorts of penalties, and she started to accumulate interest on that. She owed about $3.8 million when the property foreclosed. It has since been purchased, so somebody else owns it, but it did go in foreclosure in May of 2023, the same month where she was arrested. Based on the testimony we heard at trial, it was initially valued at $2.9 million and later purchased at $3.4 million. The testimony, though, suggested that the original parties who held the loan bought it from themselves. So they may have taken a loss and then turned around and bought it from themselves. This was a big part of the testimony, of course, during the trial. This Midway mansion, prosecutor suggested that Kouri wanted it and needed the money from Eric's settlement, from his death, to actually pay off some of the debt associated with it.
Exhibit 03. The affair. Motive has a name. The money explains the how. The affair explains the why. His name is Robert Josh Grossman, a veteran, originally from South Carolina. He came to Utah to work on Kouri's house-flipping business, and their relationship became romantic around early 2020. 2 full years before Eric Richins died.
Sir, do you know Kouri Richins?
I do.
How do you know her?
I've known her for, I don't know, a decade probably at this point. We met in South Carolina. She was flipping a house, and I answered a help wanted ad.
Then did you come to know her in South Carolina through helping her flip homes?
I did.
Did there come a time you moved to Utah?
Yes.
When, sir, was that?
It was just as COVID was kicking off. So 2020, I believe, or early in the year.
And why did you move to Utah?
To work with her, help her flip houses.
And when you moved to Utah, where did you stay?
Initially, I stayed at a flip that she had acquired in Heber. I had my dog with me. We do live-in flips, me and the dog. Yeah.
Other than accommodations, did she pay you for your service?
We didn't have any contractual agreement. She took care of me. I lived for free. She gave me money whenever I needed it. I liked her, so I'd worked for free. Not that she didn't, pay me. She did from time to time in lump sums. And
did she also give you a truck?
yes, she bought me a truck. 2 of them. Bought me one, traded it in, got another one at one point. Didn't trade it in, gave it to her mother. Yeah.
Did, sir, there come a time when your relationship turned romantic?
Yes.
About when?
Same time, just before driving to Utah.
So right about the outset of COVID.
Right.
Scott, can I get Exhibit 3-1, please.
The witness has it.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's been admitted. Can we publish it? And Scott, can you zoom in on the top portion? Thank you. Mr. Grossman, do you recognize that document before you?
I mean, I know what it's alluding to. I know of it, yes, sir.
And did you know about a trip planned to the secret St. Martin's Resort?
Yes.
So I'm going to take a look at the passenger name line. There's some initials there. RG with a birth date of 9 December 1982 and a gender of male. So are those your initials?
Yes.
Is that your birth date?
Yes.
Perhaps obviously.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you. Did you and Kouri Richins at some point plan to go on this trip?
Yeah, she... I think that was a birthday present. I remember seeing a text or something. She sent it to me. We didn't discuss it much, but it was there.
Thank you, Scott.
This was not a casual arrangement. Kouri Richins bought Grossman 2 trucks. She let him live in one of her properties. She gave him money. She texted him constantly. She told him she loved him. The jury saw dozens of those messages. Expressions of love, plans for a shared future, a relationship that both participants described as real. Grossman testified that he loved her, that he believed she loved him. He said, and I want you to notice the precision of this sentence, he had a tendency to go head over heels more than most people. So he thinks she did love him. He's not entirely sure. What the jury was sure of, Kouri Richins had a man she wanted to be with, a marriage she could not afford to leave, and a prenuptial agreement that made her husband worth more dead than alive. In December 2021, 3 months before Eric died, Kouri told a friend named Becky Lloyd that she could not see an easy way forward out of the marriage.
My name is Becky Lloyd, Lloyd.
Where do you work?
I work for C&E Stonemasonry.
And how long have you worked there?
I've worked there 5 years.
What is your current role with C&E?
I am currently their estimator.
What's that mean?
It means C&E Stone, we put stone on houses, and my job is to figure out how much we need on those houses.
What was your job back with C&E when you first started with them?
I got hired originally as an admin.
And when was that?
That was in February of 21.
Did you know Eric Richins?
I did.
How long did you know him for?
I met him sometime around 2017.
Okay. And what about Kouri Richins? Do you know her?
I do.
And did you meet her around the same time?
Yeah.
In 2021, what was the nature of your relationship with Kouri Richins?
I knew her as a neighbor, I knew her as the mother to my children's friends, and I knew her as my own friend.
I want to turn your attention to December of 2021. Was there a conversation that you had with Kouri Richins in December of 2021 that stood out to you?
Yes.
What was the date of that conversation?
December 17th of 2021.
That's a specific date. Why do you remember that date?
Because I keep a journal and I have photos from that date.
What were you doing that day?
We were doing a Secret Santa gift wrap for C&E Stone. We get presents for families in the neighborhood that don't get a good Christmas, and we were wrapping them to give away.
Now, when you say we, was that, who's the we?
Me and Kouri.
Okay, just the two of you then?
Just the two of us while we were wrapping, yeah.
Was there a topic of conversation that came up related to Kouri Richins' marriage?
Yes.
How did that come up?
I had recently gotten divorced a couple months before, 3 months before, and she was asking me how that was going, and I was asking her about how her marriage was going, and her and Eric had a fight that day, so it was definitely on the top of her mind.
What did Kouri say to you?
Kouri had an opportunity to go to a work event of some sort, like a Christmas gala, something like that. And it was going to be a really good opportunity for her career. She was excited about it. At the same time, Eric had booked a sleigh ride with the family for Christmas, a good family activity, and they had a scheduling conflict, and they did not agree about what they should do for that scheduling conflict.
What else did Kouri say during that conversation about her marriage with Eric?
She talked about how she was feeling trapped. She was feeling like there wasn't an easy way forward out of the marriage. She felt like she was worried about her kids. She was worried that she was going to lose them and that Eric was going to take the kids from her and that his family was going to turn the community against her. And she said that in many ways it would be better if he were dead.
What was the tone of Kouri's voice during that conversation?
It was serious. She definitely had a very serious tone. We weren't really joking. It was a very honest conversation and a very heartfelt conversation. And you could tell from her body language that, she was frustrated and she was struggling with where she was at. It was a serious tone.
She said that in many ways, it would be better if he were dead. Lloyd testified that she didn't want to be the one saying those words on a witness stand. But she said she knew, with certainty, that was what was said. Kouri Richins had a motive. She had a man she wanted. She had a trap she'd signed herself into. And she had decided that the only door out was the one that required Eric Richins to stop breathing. Exhibit 04, the fentanyl chain, acquisition, attempt, escalation. The prosecution reconstructed the fentanyl procurement chain with forensic precision. It begins with Carmen Lauber, the Richins family housekeeper, who also had access to an illicit drug supply chain. Lauber testified she had known Kouri for 9 years and cleaned her home every other Friday. Oldhamorka. In late January or early February 2022, Kouri contacted Lauber and asked her to source pain medication, claiming it was for an investor she knew. There was no investor. Lauber sourced pills and handed them off in Kouri's driveway the following morning. Kouri came back for more. She said the investor needed something stronger. Lauber contacted a man named Robert Crozier. Crozier brought pills containing fentanyl. The handoff happened at a gas station in Draper, Utah. Kouri left $1,000 cash for Lauber to collect. The pills changed hands in a driveway. On February 14th, Valentine's Day, Kouri Richins made her first attempt to kill her husband. She placed a breakfast order at Mirror Lake Diner at 8:55 in the morning, a Greek omelette, a bagel sandwich. She picked it up at 9:07. Eric got sick that day. He survived. A friend later recalled Eric, joking about the incident, laughing about his wife trying to poison him on Valentine's Day. He thought it was a story they'd tell forever. It was not a story. On February 26th, Kouri went back to Lauber a third time. She said, and Lauber confirmed this under oath, that she needed the Michael Jackson stuff. Stronger, more. Jackson died of a propofol overdose. Kouri wasn't asking for propofol. She was asking for the most powerful thing available. She got fentanyl, a baggie of light blue pills. The timeline from this point is 11 days to Eric Richins' death. Exhibit 05, March 3rd to 4th, 2022. The last 12 hours. The night before Eric Richins died, Robert Grossman sent Kouri a gif of two people kissing. The caption read, "Love you." They had plans the following morning, brunch to celebrate a property closing. That same evening, Kouri made Eric a Moscow mule. Investigators later found an empty bottle of Cock and Bull ginger beer in the trash at the Richins' home. A Moscow mule requires ginger beer. Eric drank it. He went to bed. He did not wake up. At just after 3 in the morning on March 4th, 2022, Kouri Richins placed a call to 911. The word she used to describe her husband was cold. Not unresponsive. Not that she couldn't wake him. Not that something seemed wrong. Cold. That word matters. Cold is a word you use when you already know. Cold is a word that describes a body, not a person. Paramedics arrived. Eric Richins was declared dead at the scene. The toxicology confirmed 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl. The brunch with Grossman never happened. Kouri instead met him weeks later in the Uinta Mountains, where they talked for hours about life and death and the supernatural. And then she asked him a question that prosecutors would later put in front of the jury. Have you ever killed anybody? How did it make you feel? He is a veteran. She knew that. She knew exactly who she was asking. Exhibit 06, the digital record. What she deleted and what she didn't. In a murder investigation, a deleted message is not evidence of nothing. It is evidence of a decision. When investigators compared the Richins' phone records against the actual data stored on their devices, they found something significant. Numerous messages between Kouri Richins and Carmen Lauber were missing. Gone. Deleted. That deletion led investigators to Lauber's home. Inside her bedroom, they found Eric Richins' obituary, pasted to a mirror, surrounded by motivational quotes. Lauber had kept it as she was working through drug court. It became part of the evidentiary record. Kouri's phone also yielded search data. The prosecution presented evidence of her online search activity following Eric's death. The specific searches were not made public in full, but investigators described them as searches consistent with a person managing the aftermath of a crime, not processing a loss. And then there was the phone call. In the weeks after Eric died, Kouri Richins called the medical examiner's office. She asked detailed, specific questions about the toxicology report. She wanted to understand exactly what had been found and how. Prosecutors played that call for the jury without extensive commentary. They let the jury decide what kind of widow calls the medical examiner to interrogate the toxicology findings. 5 days after Eric Richins was pronounced dead, Kouri obtained fentanyl a 3rd time from Carmen Lauber. She was resupplying. For what purpose? Prosecutors did not speculate. They simply put it into the record and let the jury sit with it. Exhibit 7. The trial. What 40 witnesses built. The trial of Kouri Richins began February 23, 2026 in Summit County, Utah. It ran for 3 weeks. The prosecution called more than 40 witnesses. The defense called none. The prosecution's case was built entirely on circumstantial evidence. No witness saw Kouri Richins administer fentanyl to her husband. There is no video. There is no confession. There is no single piece of evidence that, standing alone, closes the case. What there is a structure. A forged insurance application submitted 1 week before the first fentanyl purchase. A Valentine's Day attempt, followed by a request for something stronger. A second attempt that worked. A 911 call where the operative word is cold. A phone call to the medical examiner asking what they found. A question to a veteran about what killing feels like. Deleted messages. A third fentanyl, purchased 5 days after the death. A children's book, published during the investigation, that she may not have even written. The defense's sole argument was that the prosecution could not prove how the fentanyl entered Eric's body. Defense attorney Wendy Lewis told the jury, "They cannot tell you how Eric ingested that fentanyl. They haven't done their job, and now they want you to make inferences based on paper-thin evidence." Prosecutor Brad Bloodworth answered that argument in his closing with a single sentence that reduced the entire case to its core logic. She wanted to leave Eric Richins, but she did not want to leave his money. Kouri Richins did not take the stand. The defense rested without producing a single witness. Exhibit 08. The verdict. Less than 3 hours. The jury deliberated for 2 hours and 53 minutes. In a case this complex, this dependent on circumstantial evidence, this reliant on witness credibility, this built on inference and pattern and timeline, 2 hours and 53 minutes is a statement. It means the jury did not struggle. It means the structure held. It means 40 witnesses, across 3 weeks, built something that could not be dismantled by a defense that offered no alternative. Guilty. Aggravated murder. Guilty. Attempted aggravated murder. Guilty. Insurance fraud. Guilty. Forgery. Every count.
Counsel, Ms. Richins, please stand. Count 1, aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously agree that the prosecution has proved the following circumstance or circumstances regarding count 1 beyond a reasonable doubt. The homicide was committed for pecuniary gain, and the homicide was committed by means of the administration of any substance administered in a lethal amount, dosage, or quantity. Count 2, attempted aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of attempted aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously agree the prosecution has proved the following circumstance or circumstances regarding count 2 beyond a reasonable doubt. The attempted homicide was committed for pecuniary gain. Count 3, insurance fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of insurance fraud. Count 4, insurance fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of insurance fraud. Count 5, forgery. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of forgery. It's signed by the foreperson. Please have a seat.
The verdict form also recorded that the jury unanimously found both the murder and the attempted murder were committed for financial benefit. Not passion, not rage, not accident. Financial benefit. Kouri Richins faces life in prison. She still has 26 felony counts pending in a separate financial crimes case. Mortgage fraud, money, laundering, bad checks, a pattern of unlawful activity spanning years before Eric ever died. The legal process for her is not over. For Eric Richins, it ended on March 4th, 2022, in his own home, in his own bed, at the hands of the person who had promised to protect him. Exhibit close. What the evidence proved this case was not won on emotion. It was not won on a single witness, a dramatic confession, or a piece of surveillance footage showing the crime. It was won on structure, a forged signature, a fentanyl timeline, a prenuptial agreement, a deleted phone record, a question asked in the mountains to a man who had killed in war. Each piece, taken alone, is explainable. Together, they are a portrait of a woman who planned a murder, executed it imperfectly the first time, went back for stronger drugs, succeeded the second time, and then tried to perform grief for a country that was watching. The jury saw the portrait. They saw it in under 3 hours. That is the exhibit files. We don't chase sensation. We follow the evidence. If this case file is one you'll be thinking about, subscribe and hit the bell. Every new case drops here first. Tell me in the comments, which exhibit closed this case for you? The next file is already open.